it's really important what I'll be studying. It's not about the scholarship ultimately. All my peers and everyone were moving to universities abroad, and I always had this inclination towards industrial engineering. You have to do your own bit of research, what you want to pursue, which country, will you be comfortable in a cold climate.
I was like, okay, this person deserves to go to a good school because of his intellect, the kind of conversation you were having.
Northwestern stood out because they only take experienced professionals.
I think what stood out the most was the flow of his journey and the connecting points. But he's going to take care of, 10 other people around him and create that atmosphere of learning for everybody around.
It was like my life written in beautiful words.
So I feel like he's grown up in front of me somehow because when he had come, we were talking mostly about how I've graduated from BITS Pilani, and now if you talk about his experience, it's like 3.5 years of experience.
Welcome to AMP Podcast, guys. Today we have Anuj Lilhori with us. He's going to Northwestern for his Masters in Engineering Management in fall 23. So first of all, Anuj, a little background about your profile. Okay, so like what did you do in your bachelor's and how much work experience did you have?
Sure. Thank you so much for having me. So I come from a mechanical engineering background. I have about 3.5 years of work experience.
Okay.
I joined in a startup in defense sector.
Okay.
And worked as a mechanical design engineer. Since it was a startup, I got to wear many hats with the firm and got into client dealing as well as product testing, designed and built products altogether. And I joined later Reliance, so oil and gas industry altogether. So it has been a great journey altogether.
Okay. So how did this, like you were learning a lot in your professional life and you were working with good companies also. So how did this study abroad or going for a master's thing hit you? Because I think it was during COVID or before COVID also, right? You had in your mind you had to travel. So what exactly, got you running in that? I have to do a master's, that too from USA.
I always wanted, like, it was my dream to study abroad and go for my master's in a well-reputed university. And that's what drove me. And all my peers and everyone, they kind of were moving to universities abroad, and I always had this inclination towards industrial engineering. And I wanted to pursue towards something which is project or process management oriented.
Okay, got it. So that would only have be possible in a master's degree abroad rather than India. Okay, and then you were searching for, I guess, study abroad counselors, or you needed some guidance, right? So how did you come across us and Acemyprep, where you met Pragya Ma'am, I guess, right? So how did you come across us?
So I was just going through all the career counselors and what they had to offer. And I remember Pragya Ma'am calling me and just asking me what are my aspirations and what. And it was really different from what other people were pitching in.
Okay.
And they were just oriented with these are our partner universities, and you should apply to these. So what Pragya Ma'am introduced was, I'll go through your profile and find the suitable universities which match with your profile.
Right.
If you have any suggestions, we'll work on it.
Okay.
And this is what Acemyprep and Pragya Ma'am stood out from the entire.
Got it. So it's like top universities that match your profile.
Right.
Okay, so great, Anuj. So I guess I understand what exactly felt was unique about us, right? But you had already given your GRE, I guess, right?
Yeah.
So and you were also applying for IELTS. So you had done your research around US universities or how to apply abroad. So what challenges did you think any student would face who wants to go to US for a top university in your basic research out of Google or your peers?
Right.
What challenges did you come?
Okay, so as a student who is aspiring to go abroad and study, you have to get your basics, fundamentals sorted.
Okay.
First of all, you have to do your own bit of research, what you want to pursue, and which country will you be comfortable in a cool climate, or what kind of inclinations with the country. So I was very keen on Germany initially because I had A2 level of German proficiency.
Okay.
And I had gone for a German exchange way back during my ninth standard.
Got it.
So, and with the cultural exchange, I got to explore how the work culture is, how the industries are there, which made me kind of take mechanical engineering eventually because how that's what the influence was on me.
Alright.
So it really impacts the kind of research you put in, what you want to pursue. You have to be very clear what you want to pursue, what are the requirements if you want to pursue that particular subject or go into that field, and the university which you will be selecting. I think Pragya Ma'am will help you in that. But the crux is you should do your research.
On primary research before going in. Okay. So, Pragya Ma'am, one question for you here. You saw Anuj's profile, right? He had done a mechanical, and then he had 3-4 years of experience, and then he also scored a very good GRE of 323. So, what was your first impression of the profile and his ambitions? Right? Did you feel like, okay, there is still work to do on it, or it was like a pitch perfect profile coming who just needed guidance?
I think the first conversation that I had with Anuj, before even I could get to the profile, you know, when you talk to a student, there's this excitement and passion that I need to do this. That's the same passion that was there in me when I had to go abroad. So my first conversation was with Anuj was so high on energy that I was like, okay, this person deserves to go to a good school because of his intellect, the kind of conversation we were having. We talked about GRE. The first thing he asked me, should I take it again? And I said, no, you have a very good score. You don't need to worry about it. He told me about his German language, which, you know, makes it more comfortable for a counselor to work around, you know, Germany. He started from a very good university, BITS Pilani, and I think that's what was the connecting point because my father was from BITS Pilani, so we talked about that also for a while. So I was very confident on his profile. But the only thing as a counselor you think is, now let's say he deserves to get to a rank 50 school, can you send him to a rank 10 school? And around Germany, that's always a thing. The seats are very less, it's super competitive. So the only thing I was concerned about is how, you know, we can step up on the rankings from going from top 10 to top 2, right? I was confident there was work to be done, but pretty much I think his work experience, you know, slowly and gradually how he worked in the background to get good experiences to himself. There was not a lot that I had to, you know, go out of the line and put in terms of, you know, getting him through an NGO, put him through courses. He was working on one front and I think I just left him with that. We for sure worked on SOPs a lot. So the way of projecting the profile was more important than just adding the things on the profile.
Got it. See, and Anuj, so when you had already a BITS Pilani on your resume and a GRE 323, etc., right? You have good profile also. So somewhere you must have known that this is a good profile I've made, right? But do you still feel that hesitation to apply to the top universities like Northwestern or NYU, which you actually worked through? Initially, did you feel that hesitation, or were you
Absolutely, I did. Okay. So the kind of process and the requisites that they put up there, it kind of makes you anxious. And getting into a top college is a dream for all, and like everyone, I always aspired to join a good university.
I think one thing is he's been the most humble person. My score is this much, but is it okay? He gave his IELTS exam. Is this fine? Will I be able to go through this? When we were applying to schools, he was very worried that, okay, will I make it or not? So I think a lot of our conversations were just around, okay, do I have chances or I don't have chances? Then he was fine with it to understand that, okay, even if I'm going to, you know, rank 60. Plus, I think he had a very firm belief, right, that, okay, I'll give my best. So I never had questions from him, ye hoga, nahi hoga. Whatever I said, this will be done. He was very confident on that. But otherwise, he was the most humble person that I cannot do this.
Okay, got it. And you were interested in process management. You had a lot of experience as well. How did you come to the conclusion of engineering management? Because it's a relatively new course, right? It's not an MBA or it's not a MS in mechanical. It's a relatively new course, and people are still afraid because we talk to students and they're still afraid to take it up as a course because they don't know the job profiles, they don't know how the career trajectory would be. So what motivated you, or what exactly clicked with this particular course?
Okay, so I was initially keen on taking industrial engineering.
Okay.
And what I saw was within engineering management, it's a alternative MBA course
Okay.
where you are taught with the core management subjects. And instead of the MBA structure of specializing in finance marketing, I can specialize in my own field. Right. And with my experience of 3.5 years, right, I think I have gained enough experience in the and got a technical acumen. So, uh, going to a management course made more sense for me.
Got it. And when you talked about MEM, there are not 100 MEMs in the world, to be honest, right? It's a limited resource, I would say. So how do you say, because you were confused in Germany and USA, eventually now you are going to USA, how do you narrow down to the right country or to the right universities here? Like, what was your filters? Because I guess you and Pragya Ma'am had discussions around this, right? So what were primary filters from any university?
So again, if I go to Germany, I have to learn a new language altogether. Although I had proficiency, but again, when we are conversing, it takes time to shift from Hindi to English, English to Hindi, German. Right?
You always think in Hindi.
Exactly. So going to an English-speaking country made more sense to me. Then coming on to the curriculum aspect, I think Northwestern and other MEM, Northwestern stood out because they only take experienced professionals.
Okay.
So if you compare with other MEM programs in the US, they take freshers as well. So that's what why Northwestern stood out.
Right.
And the location, it's industrial hub, Illinois altogether, and it is surrounded by Michigan, Iowa. So a lot of opportunities with the experience.
Got it. But Northwestern is one of the universities that you got into, right? But you applied to many more, right? Because what I could see, because we were working behind the scenes, and when you received NYU and Northwestern, for us also it was a huge debate where we choose, because NYU gave him a $26,000 scholarship and Northwestern gave a $9,000 scholarship, right? Although in scholarship NYU was better, why did you go for Northwestern?
I chose the curriculum first because it's really important what I'll be studying. It's not about the scholarship ultimately. And both are great brands in themselves. So I went with Northwestern because the kind of teachers, professors, they were there. They are so what with my research, all the professors, they have taken up industrial projects, and the classes at Northwestern, they are scheduled in the evening. So they finish off their day work, the projects, and they teach you that relevant, the expertise, the niche they have. So that's why it stood out.
Okay, got it. And ma'am, when we were applying to top universities like New York or Northwestern or so, right? So what exactly do you feel stood out in his profile that all of these universities had given an offer, had given him a scholarship, and also were chasing? Because I believe you also deferred 1 year, and everyone accepted that deferment as well. So what in his profile actually stood out from the rest of the applicants, I would say?
I think what stood out the most was the flow of his journey and the connecting points. When you are applying for a certain program, the university sees आपको आगे क्या करना है इससे related and how you've come here, how you've reached to this point, right? He started from mechanical, right? Then he had taken up certain work which matched. Further on, the role that he took, it matched, right? And his aspirations to go there and study and take up some kind of work was very clear. So one thing in his profile was focus. अगर आपने defer भी किया admission, he knew exactly what he did in that year. Why he exactly deferred, it was very rightly explained to the university, which made sense. और उसके बाद आगे क्या करना है? After pursuance of the program, again, it showed very clear, sheer focus. I think that for me was a very good thing. Apart from that, I think academia, because he scored very good in his bachelor's, he came from a good brand name, he worked at a good brand, right? All of it together, just highlights your profile a little bit more.
Got it. Okay.
GIB score, it was very good.
Right. And Anuj, you deferred for 1 year, so can you just give the gist of why you deferred? Because you already had top universities.
So I was keen on going for my industrial engineering to NYU. Then Northwestern happened. My father had a stroke during that time. So I was just contemplating if this would, and I had already left my job. I had resigned. So it made more sense to take a defer and focus on how to align things. I was initially, more keen on pursuing product management because the kind of experience that I had during my defense companies, I worked on building products and understanding how exactly the soldiers, the army personnel, they use that equipment.
Right.
So the user experience and the research which goes into building a product. I was keen on getting into product.
Got it.
But I was initially, skeptical that deviating from an entire project and process profile, going to a new thing, pivoting to a new profile, will that make sense for me? So during this time, I spent a lot of time researching about product and project management, how I can, scale up and right after my master's or during my master's, when I go for my summer internship, what would make sense to me, like what kind of internships.
Got it. And I guess this year also you are contemplating whether to continue with your expeditions or go for, your degrees. So were you deferring again? Was that in your thought?
No, it was clear that I'm just gonna.
So the time you took actually gave you the clarity that this is the right time.
No, so in my mind, it was sure shot that I'm going with Northwestern, and we did not apply any of the universities this year. So in my mind, I was clear. I'm going to this university. It gives me all the resources I need to grow as a professional. And
Northwestern.
I think he would have gone the first year as well. He got to Bronin the first time. The only conversation that had happened at that point in time was around the location.
Okay.
So I remember it was around like late 9:30, 10.
Right.
So he just asked, should I even go? And I told him, if you want to be in long course and just research, go ahead. And if you're imagining a very different kind of fast-paced, career-oriented life, yes, it will take time to get to that stage in Germany because you have to set up your pedestal there. It takes time. US, it values that fast growth, right? They will give you what you want if you're working accordingly. Then in just that minute, we decided कि इस साल नहीं जा रहे. Now we'll apply to other places, and then that is how we eventually came to USA. USA originally was never the plan. It was just Canada and Germany at that point in time.
Got it. Okay. And based on the scholarships, ma'am, so he also got humongous scholarships, right? Admits is one thing, but when NYU offers you a $26,000 scholarship, it must have valued so much in his profile, right? So how important are the co-curricular activities or extracurricular activities that he performed, right? As an overall personality, I would say, because it's still a management course, right? No matter how technical it is, it's still a management course. So what aspects did you highlight as a counselor in his profile to get these scholarships in?
Right. So NYU, I remember, we actually did not have a scholarship earlier. We had to apply for a scholarship.
Okay.
Right? And when we were making that application, you were supposed to fill in another application form, give your essays, right? And when I was discussing with the team also around this case, what needs to be done, which side we should take it around his academics or around his experience, I frankly wanted to keep it around his people skill because he's been one of the sweetest students. He's very empathetic, and you could see that all in his profile, right? He had been very involved in people. He had his first volunteer experience. We used that as a letter of recommendation also. I think Vincent, what was the name?
Sorry.
Okay. So there was this one guy whose Edward was most extended one, and he had some volunteer experience there. So we used that quality to be highlighted everywhere because if you have people skill, then you can crack any kind of role. Right?
Okay.
And all throughout how he had grown was much dependent on he was dealing with team members at all the time. Even in his recent experience, he was taking care of certain team members. I think for me, it is all about your interpersonal qualities more than just your hard skills. And that is what we wanted to put forward to the university. That once he's there, he's not just going to take care of his learning, but he's going to take care of 10 other people around him and create that atmosphere of learning for everybody around. And that I think would have definitely stood out.
Okay. See. So Anuj, back to you. Now let's just give a brief about the process, right? So how did you feel about the SOP or the LOR process that AMK has developed, right? And because we don't know you from scratch, let's be honest here, right? So we don't know you from scratch. But how did the SOP come about? Because it was a really good SOP. That's why we have got all of this admits, right? So how did that come about? How many inputs did you give? How was that entire experience?
So the entire application process, the SOP and LORs, they were pretty smooth. I was given with a questionnaire where I had to answer things related to me, how I am, what reflects, what are my family values, and it takes a little time to work on the SOP because it's the most important and the biggest part of your entire profile because you are reflecting yourself, who you are, and how has been your journey entirely. So I think it took a while, but I think the entire process which Pragya Ma'am carried out was pretty smooth. And I think we applied for continuous 2 years. It was kept on changing.
I think it also changed over the years. The first time it
years.
was more around his bachelor's because he was more like fresh into the academia. उसके बाद चीजें थोड़ी और experience centric हो गई and I think we also unraveled different layers as we move from one application period to another. Plus when we were applying to Germany it was mostly around the research study but things changed drastically when we were applying to US. Right. But one thing was we always got very very clear and very intellectual inputs from him. He was very clear what he wanted to portray. So again as a counselor it becomes a very happy moment because you exactly know what I have to write, then you can put it in your own words. So we took multiple calls, especially the first time there were a lot of calls. And sometimes I used to tell him, okay, I'll give this a try. And he used to come back saying, look, this is what I want to put in this way. But eventually as a team we could carry it out nicely.
Right. Okay. And were there any interview processes also in the application?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
So all the management and the German universities, right? They conduct interviews.
Right.
Although NYU did not have any.
Because it was industrial engineering again. Okay.
So Pragya Ma'am helped me a lot with the interview preparation, how I should go about it, and specifically what kind of questions will be put up, and they will be a little difficult to be taken. So she helped me how I should go about it, and she helped me prepare well.
Okay. So one question here, when we are talking about SOPs and interviews, etc. So did you get a chance to reflect on your life? Because many times we have seen that these essays bring out your entire life because you have to actually portray your entire life. Right? So did you ever feel ki, okay, I have done a lot of work, I just never actually sat down and wrote about it. So what was your reaction the first time you got the perfect SOP? Right, so I would say the first year or the second year when you read that perfect SOP about you, right. How did you feel like?
So it was like my life written in beautiful words.
Better words that you could have.
Yeah. Framed very well, and it was poetry.
Okay, poetry. Fair enough. So that was the gist about the application process, right? Now you're going to Northwestern, you have finalized it. So have you already connected with students there?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So how were their profiles? You must have done a LinkedIn research or so. So how do you feel about your peers that coming?
Yeah. So it's a mixed group of people, and Northwestern again is very selective. They have only 9% acceptance rate, and people who have. So the average age for this program is 27.
Okay.
I connected with someone who was 50 years and graduated last year.
Wow.
He is currently working with MathWorks and at a very senior position. So I asked them how was the experience entirely, what kind of courses they pursued, and how was the overall effect on their profile, the journey we went through. And some people of my age, with their background coming from McKinsey or Bain background, consulting,
Yeah.
So connecting with them is
Diverse people coming in. Great.
Yeah.
And now you did the visa process the first time this time, right?
Yeah.
So how was the visa process for you?
It was quite smooth. Prachi helped me a lot. He made everything very simple. And it was very smooth, to be very honest. The sevens, the F1, the form,
DS-160.
DS-160. And she made it very smooth for me.
Got it. Take it. And now over the 2 years, right? So Anuj will be one of our top achievers, right? So how has the journey been with him? Because he is one of the persons who has gotten into the top universities, and yet he is really humble, right? But it was a long procedure, and there will be ups and downs when there is human connect, right? So how was the entire journey? And if there were any tips for any students also who go through this process?
I think he's one student. Of course, it's been a very long journey. So I feel like he's grown up in front of me somehow because when he had come, we were talking mostly about how I've graduated from BITS Pilani, and now if you talk about his experience, it's like 3.5 years of experience. So things have changed over this while. The first time we did the applications, one very common thing was he always trusted me a lot, and one thing from my end was I was very sure I have to do my best to get into a good school. So with some students, they deserve a very good place. And that was one common thing that I had, that जो भी होगा इस साल नहीं तो अगले साल, he has to go to a very good branding. That was my thing.
Right.
We were always a team. I never felt that disconnect. Sometimes you're worried, okay, what if the student doesn't like this? I knew we will always come back, work on it as a team and get out with a good result. Right? The first time we made our applications to Canada, I remember there was some glitch in the Edward, right? But he was still very calm, right? I told him yes, the deadlines were like that. So he understood, right? The next time we made the applications, he was more mature, right? He understood things better. He had gone through the process once. So it was very quick the second time, honestly, for me, right?
Okay.
The first time is what I remember more because we had to work around these Germany applications, which were very extensive.
Right.
And at that time, he was, I think, occupied with something. Maybe he was applying to jobs. I don't remember. But there was a phase he was very busy. So at that time, he was like, okay, can you just handle this? And I think we did. Overall, I think it's your passion that gets you through. And if the student is as passionate as you, I think it just becomes a piece of cake.
Right.
So I knew he will eventually go to a very good school, whether or not. I was always confident around the interviews. So when his interview was there, mostly I'm very, hassled, what will happen, how will this go, but with him, I was like, he'll crack it. So he was very hardworking. He was passionate to go. He knew what he wanted.
Right.
He was very intellectual, never deterred from giving his input. So I think he was just, it was destined for him to get through. And now that he's going, of course, you feel like a proud parent, that finally, okay, he's going abroad. And I think he deserves everything in the world. He's very, intellectual, capable as a person. So I think you just need to get out and fulfill the dreams that are yet to be fulfilled. That's
right. Okay. And Anuj, any tips for the beginners who are just looking forward their study abroad process or so? Like we have been through this 2.5 years now. So any tips for them before they start their entire journey?
So it's really important as a aspiring student to do your bit of research. It's really important to be confident and build a profile into the stream or the discipline that you want to pursue. So people, the good colleges, you see you entirely, not just one bit or pieces. Right. So if you're going to pursue, let's say, X course, build your profile on that and work towards how eventually why are you motivated to pursue that course. So it's really important to identify what your passion is and how you want to go about it.
So basically, just the clarity is very important. Because many students are confused between 5-6 courses and they apply to all of them, but that actually hinders the application process because the resume is not custom made. So clarity is what you will say. Great. Okay, and the last bit of part is now you're flying away, right? So I think your family also will be really happy. So what is the plan now? Like to go there, explore, work there also sometime, or is it to just explore and then come back to India?
No, my plan was always to settle in
Okay.
the States, and my program is 15 months now, so I get the opportunity to go for a CPT, that is summer internship,
Right.
and I'm already applying for internships
Right.
currently. So let's see how it goes.
So before you start your course, you're applying for internships, right? Can you just throw a little light, like how do students should go about it? Because what we have learned is without a USA internship, getting a USA job is very difficult, right? So how are you narrowing down your internship opportunities right now, sitting in India?
Right. So I have figured out what kind of roles I want to get in eventually, and I have segregated. Okay, these are the jobs which I have experience in, or the courses I'll be taking in the quarter or the coming quarters. How would they align with my internship eventually? And I'm currently networking with Pragya Ma'am suggested, like network as much as possible, and that's what it will help you eventually land a job.
Got it. Okay, wait. So, in a nutshell, Anuj, if you have to say everything about the process at AMP, one review about us before we close off.
Easy, swift, and smooth.
Smooth. Okay, that's a good
Like
compliment.
synonyms.
Yeah.
Easy, swift, smooth.
Out of three synonyms. Great. Okay. Congratulations on your offer. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
And you got amazing offers, right? And you got great scholarships. We wish you the best of luck, right? Going to Northwestern, and hope you'll be in connect because we are also building a community networking there. So you will be one of the pioneers of our, network there. Okay. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much.